When we're finished animating all of our keyframes for our animation and establishing a loose timing of them, we may want to start establishing what are called breakdown frames, or also known as the passing poses. These breakdown frames and passing poses are secondary drawings that really support the overall construction of our animation, but provide our audience, and most importantly you as the animator, a little bit of information as to what happens in between two major keyframes. If you look at my animation, this is what we got so far. These are just the keyframes. There it goes. Pretty cool. But maybe we need to provide some extra detail in here to really define what happens in between these two frames. Now, here's the second drawing. This is what it looks like. Of course, the green one is the past, and the blue onion skin is the future. And the blue onion skin kind of shows me the target of what's going on, where this is going. However, if we were to flip between these two moments in time, right there, a breakdown frame may do us justice here to kind of help establish specifically what happens in between these two moments. It's like an extra level of detail for our keyframes. They're not an in-between. They are a special type of drawing that just gives us a little bit more of an insight as to the specificity of the movement itself. And let's just make one real fast. I want to make one here on frame 15 in between my second and third keyframes. This is where the keyframe types really kind of come to shine, because I've just labeled all of my extreme poses with, of course, the extreme keyframe type. You select it, hit the R key, we'll bring up our keyframe type. And we can see we have extreme, then we also have breakdowns. Now, the reason these different keyframes are important to us is that we can very quickly filter our timeline based off of these keyframe types. Now, I'm over here inside of my properties panel, and of course in my animation layers it's going to give us all of our onion skinning controls, and under this filter by type, we can say, hey, just give me all of the onion skins for the extreme keyframe types, or just show me the breakdown poses, right? So there's a nice purpose behind having all of these keyframe types inside of our timeline. It makes managing our timeline and what we're seeing in the viewport a lot easier, especially in the context of all of these onion skins. Okay, let's go in and start defining what this passing pose could look like, because I need to figure out in between the current frame and this blue one how I want to pose my little arm here. Where's the ball going to be? Does it have its own arc that it's currently traveling on? Is the pose of this bottom section going to be, what is it going to be? Is it going to be straight up and down? Is it going to be slightly bent? How am I going to define what happens between this pose and this blue one? I have a similar challenge ahead of me in my timeline, but let's go ahead and knock this one out real fast. So this is where we get to have a little bit of fun. So let's start by grabbing all of those, and I'm going to grab the G key. And let's start looking, and let's immediately change this keyframe type to breakdown. That way, it's nice and blue in the timeline. And this is where it gets a whole lot of fun, because this is where, of course, naturally we get to just kind of play around with some stuff. I'm going to hold down the X key. There we go. I'm going to hit the G key to bring it up just a little bit. And then once again, grab it, and then immediately hit X. And that will constrain the movement along the X axis. And I think what I'm going to do is that I want to have a passing pose, maybe somewhere right around in here. Then G key once again, Z key to go up and down. And I'm going to start defining what the arc is going to be. I think maybe initially I want to have the arc be a little bit lower, something like that. And this is why we want to have that passing frame in there, because it allows us to start customizing a more organic shape. We define specifically what's going on. Okay, so we've done that part. Now let's go ahead and let's start working with the rotation of this entire object. So now I'm going to work on rotate. And I think what I'm going to have is maybe something like this. Kind of put my guy back in there. And really what I want to do is spend some time rotating and exploring this, because I think I want to have it trailing in here. I don't want it to be perfectly straight up and down, because its previous pose, it was out, and then it starts to trail and kicks up. Yes! Let's play it one more time. Oh, now I'm starting to define a little bit more carefully now how this animation is going to work. This passing pose just gives us an extra layer of detail. Now we don't have to infer as much as to what the animation is going to be. I can start to see the movement unfold in front of us inside of the viewport. Okay, let's do one more because I have a similar issue in between this keyframe and this keyframe. That's quite a distance it travels. Well, what happens between this pose here and this pose over there? Where is its movement arc? How is this bottom section and the mass of the character going to be changing in between those two moments? Well, let's explore it for a second. Let's grab all these lines. Let's start off with the rotation first. That'll help me out a little bit. There we go. I'll grab it. Maybe we really want to dip it down. Let's also change its keyframe type real fast to breakdown. Yeah, let's just experiment. Let's invent and have some fun here. Grab all those in there. We're going to rotate it. Here we go. Rotate it a little bit more. Grab it, bring it down. Yeah. Now, one of the things that I'm trying real hard not to do in most of my keyframes is try to have a lot of perfectly vertical and perfectly horizontal forms. Let's play it now. Yeah, there we go. Now remember, these aren't the in-betweens. These are the passing poses or the breakdown frames. And they're just an extra layer of information that starts to fill in the gaps between our keyframes themselves. Now, if we were to filter and just show all of our breakdowns, yeah, that's pretty cool. Because now we can go in and start to get a really good solid understanding of how all of this is going to work together and how each of the breakdown poses are serving the keyframes themselves. Okay. Just scanning through. Now, in between this pose and this pose, what happens? So it swings up and then it comes back down. But how does it come back down? And what comes in first? Well, let's explore that for a second here. Let's figure this out. I think what I want to have in this particular moment is that as it swings up, yeah, so it's going to come up and then back down. Yeah, maybe I even have it. Yeah, let's experiment with this here for a second. Maybe as the ball and this comes down, this really curves up. Let's experiment. This is a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for us to make a really engaging passing pose. So let's do it. Let's make a breakdown frame, a breakdown key in this moment here. Let's grab everything. And I think we'll start off by bringing it down into its own movement arc. Even here, it's arced. Okay, you see the arc coming along in these frames themselves. It's pretty cool. Okay, and I think what I'm gonna get these two real fast because I really want to rotate them, bring them up. I think that's gonna be a cool moment. I'm gonna hold down the Shift key, grab some of these other elements. We're gonna rotate and grab. Rotate. Oops. Cancel that. Let's rotate it. Ooh, I think I accidentally extruded some verts on that one. There we go. Just hit the undo key a number of times. Rotate it. Grab it. Yeah, I'm being real mindful. I'm looking at the big weight here in the center, and I'm trying to figure out where the arc is going to be for there. Now, I kind of messed up on this one over here, but that's okay. I can get it dialed in. Just rotate it. There we go. Grab it, put it in position. Maybe even let's change it here for a second. Like that. Oh, that's going to be cool. Okay, let's play it and see what we get. Yes. That helps so much. It fills in a little bit more information. It starts to define the overall movement a little bit more accurately. It's not an in-between. This is an important element inside of our animation process, because at this level of detail, we can still time these out. We can go in and adjust the location of just these handful of keyframes, and then once we're happy with the timing of all this, we can go back in with the interpolate tool and start doing all the in-betweens. These passing frames or these breakdown frames do a really great job of just giving us an extra level of detail as to what this animation is going to be before we do all the in-betweens. The in-betweens are really designed to be kind of mechanical frames. They just kind of fill in the gaps. The keyframes and these breakdown frames, also known as passing poses, really define the essence and the DNA of the movement. So we should spend some time crafting them and providing us and our audience with a very clear representation of the movements that we're trying to produce.